What you're about to hear isn't a rumor, and it isn't a palace whisper. It's a paper trail. A short email chain from late 2010, quiet, businesslike, and signed off with a royal title, now raises a sharper question than any headline ever could. When a royal door opens for a private request, who else gets invited inside? If you're fascinated by the untold stories of the British royal family, the decisions that shape the monarchy, and the complex dynamics behind the crown, then you absolutely need to be subscribed to Crown Desk. Hit that subscribe button now because we're uncovering insights you won't find anywhere else. Let's dive in. To understand why this matters, we need to go back to the world Prince Andrew was operating in at the time. In 2010, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, then the Duke of York, was still moving through international circles with the profile of a senior royal and the function of a trade envoy. That role, by design, sits at the intersection of influence and opportunity, meetings, introductions, and the kind of access most people never get. Now place that beside another name, Jeffrey Epstein, whose reputation was already deeply compromised by a prior conviction in the United States. By late 2010, Epstein was not a man you casually consulted on anything involving major finance or institutional relationships. And yet, the documented record shows his name re-entering the picture through a very specific ask. On September 30, 2010, an email was sent to Prince Andrew by a managing partner at a firm called Concord Investment Partners Holdings. The email requested an introduction to a senior banker at Barclays or RBS. The stated purpose was to secure a $200 million working capital line for a company named Aria Petroleum, described in the email as having significantly increased business linked to the U.S. Department of Defense, specifically defense logistics. The email also copied Andrew's household aide at the time, Amanda Thirsk, anchoring the message inside the orbit of his official office. Then comes the key moment. On December 2, 2010, Andrew appears to have forwarded that request to Jeffrey Epstein. The language is strikingly plain. He suggests he should have done something about it, says he's checking, and asks Epstein, because it's a U.S. institution, whether he knows anyone who might want to take a look. He signs off as HRH, the Duke of York, KG. That same day, Epstein appears to forward the message to Jess Staley, then the head of J.P. Morgan's private bank, using a single word, FYI. And after that, the trail goes quiet. There are no additional references to Aria Petroleum in the tranche of published Epstein-related documents described in the reporting. No yes, no no, no deal memo, just a handoff. So what can we say with confidence and what can't we? The verified core is this. The email chain exists, and it documents a request for $200 million, routed from a private investor to a royal, then on to Epstein, and from Epstein to a senior banker. That is not an interpretation. That is the foundation. What is not verified is just as important. The original pitch email claims Aria Petroleum was a preferred vendor for U.S. defense logistics at the time, and it describes the company in grand terms, size, reach, reputation. But the reporting itself acknowledges that some of these claims are difficult to independently evidence, and the email reads like what it is, a funding pitch. Now zoom out to Aria Petroleum's corporate footprint. A UK company named Aria Petroleum UK Limited is shown in public filings as incorporated in 2012. Separate investigative reporting has described an operation in which Aria and Gunvor, later linked in public discussion to Kremlin-aligned networks, were referenced in relation to fuel supply routes supporting US forces in northern Afghanistan starting in 2012. That overlap creates a troubling backdrop, but it does not prove the 2010 email chain financed or enabled those later operations. This is where credible analysis begins, and where responsible reporting has to slow down. Based on patterns experts often point to in royal controversies, the reputational risk isn't only about whether a deal happened, it's about the judgment involved in who was asked to take a look. The moment Epstein becomes a conduit, especially for anything adjacent to defense procurement or international supply, alarm bells ring, even if no laws were broken. And the absence of follow-up documentation leaves a vacuum that public suspicion inevitably fills. There's another layer too, Jess Staley. Years later, UK regulators concluded Staley misrepresented aspects of his relationship with Epstein, resulting in a ban from senior financial roles and significant penalties. That doesn't retroactively criminalize a 2010 FYI, but it does sharpen the significance of who was in Epstein's immediate banking Rolodex. And then there's the human factor, Prince Andrew's long-running struggle with public credibility. Every new document doesn't just add facts, it reactivates old questions about oversight, boundaries, and whether the monarchy's informal power can drift into private advantage. So here's the central takeaway. The emails show a pathway of influence. They do not show the outcome. They raise concerns without providing the final page. And that's why this story lingers, because what we can prove is already uncomfortable, and what we can't prove is exactly where the public imagination races ahead. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think forwarding a financial request like this, especially involving Jeffrey Epstein, crosses a line even if nothing came of it? Or is this simply what high-level networking looked like inside the royal trade world at the time? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you found this breakdown useful, like the video and turn on notifications. And when you're done, watch our related deep dive on how royal reputation crises evolve, because these stories rarely end with just one email.